Welcome to Things You Don't Know. This is the end of year recap with our projections for the coming year. Today, as usual, I'm joined by the rest of our team, Dr. Deneen and Chandler Foster.
I was very surprised to learn over the past year we've put up 70 podcasts covering a wide variety of topics.
The thing that makes me happy is that we've actually covered many diverse topics, including everyday items such as vacuum cleaners, toothbrushes, and pillows. And we've even covered some bizarre events such as the molasses flood, the green children of Woolpit, and even missing people who turned up in the wrong century.
I'm pleased to hear you mention that molasses flood. It was one of the topics I found most surprising. This happened in Massachusetts in 1919. This episode covered the explosion of a huge tank containing molasses. The smell could be smelt for decades. The explosion killed many people, destroyed homes, baptized Boston with a terrible odor, and changed lives forever.
One of my favorites was our coverage of a more philosophic, metaphysical topic, which is quantum theory, quantum entanglement, and a variety of other notions that were part and parcel of that whole thing. I know that many of you were very interested in it, and I'm glad. We may do some more on that in the future.
Well, I personally was interested in it, and I really enjoyed the research that went in. It was a fun project. Another topic that really was a personal interest to me because it's one of my hobbies was our coverage of clay. I love working with clay. We looked at historic, artistic, and practical issues with this universal material.
Just putting on my historian's hat for a minute here. I have a particular interest in one of the blots on our country's record, the unjust Japanese American internment during World War II. Where the country's fear outran its principles, we looked at the internment of Japanese American citizens at the behest of great liberal leaders like future Chief Justice Warren and President Franklin Roosevelt. When J. Edgar Hoover says something is unjust, it really is. That's a topic that we need to remember how panic can lead to the abandonment of principles.
In a related issue, we covered another topic which was kind of spooky and surprising in another way. It was soldiers, Japanese soldiers, who did not know the war had ended. And they remained in hiding, isolated. And they were still battling for the longest time. And they wouldn't be convinced that the war was over until they had word from the emperor.
That went on until the 1970s. One man was so ashamed at losing, he threatened to commit seppuku in front of the emperor, and Hirohito had to tell him two things. First off, I am not a god. And secondly, please don't end your life. History is like that. It's not always neat with good guys on one side and bad guys on the other. That's one of the things that makes it so interesting to me.
I'm glad you brought history up because if it's one thing that people need to take from our show, it's that the past isn't a museum, it's a mirror. And not only that, you look at it to learn a lot of valuable lessons of what to do and what not to do again in some ways.
And the other thing there, Chandler, is history runs in cycles. It's patterns. It happens, it happens, it happens. And we need, I know it's a trite saying, but if you don't know history, you are doomed to repeat it, including with the disastrous effects of some of it.
You're quite correct, both of you. I was particularly also pleased with the virtually unknown First Lady we covered, Lou Henry Hoover, President Herbert Hoover's wife. She had a degree in mining engineering, a master's degree in the 1880s when women couldn't even vote. I feel that this is one of the most important episodes that should be subtitled, How Did I Not Know This? That we did.
People hear the word Hoover and either think of the dam or something else. But Lou forces you to widen that lens.
She was educated, capable, not content to be decoration, one of the founders of the American Girl Scout movement, and as much a help to President Hoover in her own way as Eleanor Roosevelt was to FDR. She makes you rethink what leadership looks like when it isn't loud.
And she also represents something that's quite unfashionable, but vital duty, a kind of old school seriousness about service.
And being aware of that is not nostalgia or romanticizing the past, which had a great deal of injustice and difficulty. It's about remembering that a civilization at its best runs on grown up people doing hard things that need to be done, even without applause.
You know, one of the things here that this topic actually brings to my mind is that on our team, on purpose, we have a wide variety of perspectives and viewpoints. And we might not have ever gotten to this one if it had not been for Dr. Deneen. Hoover, I'm a pretty liberal person, and I wouldn't have been thinking about anything with Hoover because I was an FDR guy. And it's kind of really neat that we had this, and I love it. That is one of the things I like about this podcast is that there is this really widespread perspectives.
Well, to be honest, Dr. Weaver, I didn't pull it out of a hat. I got it from the writings of Jonah Goldberg and Patrick Buchanan, President Nixon's speechwriter. They talked about, in some ways, the New Deal being an expanded version of programs that President and Mrs. Hoover, in their own way, had created on a smaller scale in the beginning of the Depression. Right. So I thought, how could a woman in that time, knowing how much Mrs. Roosevelt had done, how prior to that could someone play such a role? It's a quieter role, but it is no less vital.
And it almost kind of makes the expression ring true behind every successful man, there is a woman. And, Hoover was the president, and then you find out she made a contribution as well. Because, like those grown ups, Dr. Deneen, she was one of those grown ups. And, another topic that we have begun implementing is our comic superhero series. We're going to be covering topics such as Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, and so much more. And we've been in contact with an expert on this topic, and there's going to be a lot more coming up on that. So stay tuned.
Yeah, another topic that I personally enjoyed presenting was our exploration of generational and intergenerational issues. Over the past year, we have made some changes, including expanding the team to include you, Chandler, because we wanted to bring the viewpoint of a younger generation. We wanted it to be presented properly and forcefully too.
Well, I just want to say thank you so much, Dr. Weaver and Dr. Deneen, for, bringing me into the fold and making me a part of the team. I'm really glad to be here. It brings me so much joy, and I'm looking forward to all the great things we're going to accomplish together here in the new year.
It's our pleasure.
Hear, hear.
We've also done some structural things. We have a lot of good things which we've implemented, such as creating chapter headings for episodes to make it easier for our audience members to find their specific interests.
Yeah. And we are going to begin putting different topics into playlists or series so that our audience can find material that they are interested in more quickly. We hope that that will be useful to folks who want to find them? Because with around 200 podcasts, it might be hard for you to actually ferret out, oh, well, this would be of interest to me. And we hope that this will help. Another thing we will be doing is expanding our presence onto other platforms.
Another thing that we plan to be doing is we want to offer some premium benefits to our subscribers, such as previews of podcasts, behind the scenes information, and other perks.
Yeah. And they will be something I think you, most people will be kind of interested in. Listen, thanks a bunch for listening. And thank you in advance for joining in our future adventure. Rate, review, and share the show with a friend if you'd like.
Especially that friend who insists that history is boring. We will fix them. I promise you that. Goodbye.
May I just say how much I've enjoyed being a part of this in the past year. I wish you all a good new year and look forward to the many wonderful things that are happening in 2026.